Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Bufnagle the podcast, where we explore entertaining and enlightening discussions of the adventure of life and all things good. From science and technology to history and philosophy to leadership and success. We hope to give you a better understanding of the world and skills for everyone to pursue their own adventure.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Bufnagle the podcast, where we talk about all things good and the pursuit of the adventure of life. I am Rafe. I am joined by Harry today, which makes it a great show. Even before we have started, I know it's great. It's got to be a great show. And I want to tell you before we get going that we are grateful for all the listeners out there. We are appreciative of you. Without you guys, we would not be the global top 10% podcast that we are. And what else we got to tell them? Oh, yeah. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, smiley stars, pudding. You guys know the drill, right?
You get chocolate chip cookies, but basically get dessert.
Yeah, you do good things for us. We do good things for you, and then we get snacks. So that's great. And remember to hit the subscribe button. That's a great thing. And there we are. So today, Harry, I asked you to read a story, and we're going to talk some stories in literature, fiction, and truth. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I've got to be honest with the listeners, right? I didn't read the story.
Right.
We read the story here in the pre-meeting very quickly, and I'm sure you can give a synopsis for our readers, but I was busy with children all day.
Yeah, go figure.
So I think we should start with giving the listeners a very quick rundown of what the story is, kind of what you told me in the meeting notes.
Okay, here we go. So the story is The Storm by Kate Chopin, written 1898, so late 1800s time frame. So it's the sequel to At the Acadian Ball, written in 1892 by the same lady, Kate Chopin. And this is, it's a story. It's a short story. You can find it on the interweb because it's in public domain now. Zach could tell us about copyright and how long it takes to get copyrighted and all that stuff. But okay, so it's a story. There are 5 characters, give or take, and it's a story that takes place, I'm going to say, in the Bayou. I think it's in New Orleans area, somewhere down south. I think Creole might be the right group of individuals. What would you call that, Harry? What are the Creoles? They're the people that live down there. There's the society down there, right? And they live down there doing whatever they do, walking to the store and putting in crops and growing things and having dinner and that stuff. And the father is Bobint, Bobint, and the son is Bibi, Bibi, and the mother is Calixta. And it turns out the boys, when you start the story, Bobint and Bibi are at the store. They are at Friedeman's store, which they decided to buy some stuff, and they can see that there's a storm coming. Harry, there's a storm coming. All right, the clouds are rolling in. The air is still, and they think there's a storm coming, and they're talking, should we try to get home before the storm, or should we just hang out here while the storm passes? And they decide they're going to hang out there. All right. And Calixta, meanwhile, is at home all by herself, and she is there, and she sees the storm coming, and she's worried about her little boy, and she's a little bit worried about the husband, but you worry less about the husband than about the little boy, right? Mm-hmm. So, right. And she's sitting there taking, the clothes off the line and doing all this stuff, and up rides to her house her old flame, right, on her horse, right? And they have been, so Calixta has been married now for a while, and up rides, it's Alce. I don't know how you say this. It's
Alice, maybe?
Else, maybe? I don't know. It's like a French name or a Spanish name or a Frenchish name. I don't know, whatever. Creole, I'm going to say that. I think that's not right. But anyway, the guy rides up and he's like, hey, it looks like it's going to rain. Can I hang out on your porch? So he hangs out on the porch, and they go inside when the rain comes, and they're talking, and Calixta is very worried about the rain coming. And, how do I say it? One thing leads to another. They fall into each other's arms, and there they are. The marriage vows are broken. Let's just say that. Should I say that? That's
sure.
a good way to say it. Okay. And the second section of the story ends with the statement, the growl of the thunder was distant and passing away. The rain beat softly upon the shingles, inviting them to drowsiness and sleep, but they dared not yield. And to me, that's really funny.
They dared not yield to sleep. God
Yes.
forbid.
Yes, heaven forbid they fall asleep, but they did, they yielded to other temptations, all right? And the storm, okay, if you're teaching basic, 7th, 8th, 10th grade English, something like that, there's a metaphor here, there's a storm there, there's tension, and a storm is a release of tension. Okay, great, fine. All right, and then the rain goes away, and the boys walk home, and the little boy, BB is kind of muddy, and Dad stops before they get home, and straightens his collar and brushes the mud off of him because he has to look presentable for his mom, and it's great. And he comes home and he says, "Clicks time home," and she's like, "Yeah, I'm so happy about that." And so they come in, and everything's happy, everything's great, everything's wonderful, and she doesn't say anything, and Bobint doesn't suspect anything, and that's the end of section 4 or 5, 4. 3. 3. All right. And then we get to section 4, where the slimy guy writes a letter to his wife, Clarice, and he says, she's away. Right. So he's staying at home. She's away visiting people for the summer. He says, do not hurry back, but if she and the babies liked it at Biloxi, they should stay a month longer. He was getting on nicely. And though he missed them, he was willing to bear the separation a while longer, realizing that their health and pleasure were the first things to be considered.
That's right. Stay away as long as possible. I'm doing great.
I'm doing great. Don't worry about me.
Fantastic.
What a creep. All right. And then the last little section is Clarice gets the letter. And as for Clarice, she was charmed upon receiving her husband's letter. She and the babies were doing well. The society was agreeable. Many of her old friends' acquaintances were at the bay, and the first free breath since her marriage seemed to restore the pleasant liberty of her maiden days. Devoted as she was to her husband, their intimate conjugal life was something which she was more than willing to forego for a while. Yeah, she was willing to forego it for a while. He, on the other hand,
he couldn't resist.
Yeah, he was not going to yield to sleepiness, Harry,
or to the rain,
right? So he stay out of the. My darling, dear Clarice, I am staying out of the rain. I'm staying dry. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. Your happiness is all that matters.
That's right. And then what is the last sentence?
The last sentence is, so the storm passed and everyone was happy.
Sure. You can live a happy life if you just lie the whole time.
Just cover it up. And, the reason this story is here is a friend of mine has a son that is in high school and was reading this story. And the son said that in school, when they were discussing this story, that he was the only one in the class who was abhorred at the behavior of the people and found and thought that what they did was wrong. Because everybody else said, well, the storm passed and they were all happy. So what's the problem? And they didn't understand the concept of the ends don't justify the means.
Right. And just because the storm passes doesn't mean that there wasn't residual, right? The storm passes. It's not like the rain automatically dries up as the storm goes away.
There's rain and there's mud still in the gutters, right? The kids stepped in the mud. There were still problems there. But apparently all the kids in the school thought that it was okay. The storm passed. Hey, everybody's happy. What's the problem?
Yeah, happiness is the end result, right? Shouldn't we all just be happy?
That is what we're shooting for, happiness, right? Because if we don't have that, then we'll just take a medication, right? Yeah. Or that's what we'll do. But it is interesting because I read this and the story is, it has a very obvious metaphor in it, but there are some, it's just, and I thought about this and I thought, well, this isn't how people are, because it doesn't say anything about how Calixta woke up in a fright that night, wondering if her husband, do I remember that I accidentally told my husband? Did that really happen? And he doesn't wake up thinking, I wonder if, well, maybe I should go visit her again because that was good last time. And they keep pushing the envelope.
Or the amount of guilt that she might possibly have, or that she sees her husband and her son every single day and goes, oh goodness, I'm not good enough for them.
Yeah,
or anything of the sort.
But the storm has passed, Harry. The storm has passed, and
That's
all
right.
is
She's
well.
happy. I'm sorry.
Right, and everyone is happy, and it just befuddled me that they could read that and not see that. You know what? This is what I thought, is that this isn't how life goes. That's not it. I mean, if you've ever made a mistake, now I haven't made this mistake. All right, I've made a lot of mistakes, and these things eat you. If you have any sort
If
of
you have a
conscience.
conscience, yeah.
If you have a and I remember talking one time to a priest, and I said, I'm just so sick of my conscience. And he said, don't be worried about your conscience. Your conscience keeps you out of trouble.
Yeah.
All right. And we have all made our mistakes, and we are called to to repent, to seek forgiveness, and then, atone, and then go do that no more. But this kind of, and look at the time frame. This was late 1800s, right? End of the Victorian era. People are trying to loosen those reins a little bit. And I'm sure there were people that do this sort of thing, but I don't think this is how life goes. And that was my problem with this as fiction. I'm a believer that fiction tells the truth, even if the story never happened.
That's right. And I'm sure you have another example.
I do have another example, and this is a subtly different example. It's one of my favorite songs. I told my friend that she should tell her son to take this song to school and have people discuss this one. And the song is Lyin by the Eagles, 1975. It's from I think it's from the Hotel California album. And if you know this, I'm sure everybody knows this song. I can't believe you don't know this song. If you don't, then go look it up. It's a little poem. It's probably 10 or 12 stanzas. It's quite long.
It's about 6 minutes long. So it's a longer song than these days, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it used to be on 2 sides on the 45. You had to flip it over. But this, so this is the story. Lyin is the story of a woman who, ever since she was a young girl, knew how to open doors with just a smile. She marries an old guy who's got plenty of money, and everything is going great for her. But late at night, the big old house gets lonely. Every form of refuge has a price. It breaks her heart to think that her love is only given to a man with hands as cold as ice. So she goes out to the other side of town, to the cheating side of town, and she meets a boy who is with fire eyes and dreams no one could steal. And she goes to see him because he makes her feel the way she used to feel. So she is in a situation that is not good. And she's doing something that's not going to make it any better.
Right.
All right. But this is better literature. Okay. This is a great song for a number of reasons. From a lyrical point of view, it's phenomenal. There's all sorts of alliteration in there. There's great rhyme scheme. The meter is wonderful. The melody is great. The background vocals are wonderful. But the story is true. Okay. Even though, Harry, you're going to tell me the story is not true, right?
I will.
All right. So but she goes out and she meets the boy, and they play smoochy face for a while. And then she says, I'll be coming back. I'll come back later. And she leaves him.
Well, she's going to come back soon. She's going to come back. So the lyric is, she swears that soon she'll be coming back forever.
Right. And
so
she goes away.
Ditch the old guy and come for the new guy. And this is an interesting thing because typically it goes the other way around, right? Typically it's the guy. And for all we know, there's no reason to believe that she is not being wronged. Sure. Right. I mean, it could be that the husband is just as much of a bad guy as she is. Mm-hmm. He could be out chasing this guy's sister. Right. So, but she gets up, pours herself a strong one. And this was my favorite lyrics when I was a kid, and stares up at the stars up in the sky. If you want to teach alliteration, you teach that line in this song. All right. Another night's going to be a long one. She draws the shade and hangs her head or cry. She wonders how it ever got this crazy. She thinks about a boy she knew in school. Did she get tired or did she get lazy? She's so far gone. She feels like a fool. My, oh my, you sure know how to arrange things. You set it up so well, so carefully. Ain't it funny how your new life didn't change things? You're still the same old girl you used to be. And that's the regret. That's the hopelessness. That's the despair. That's the darkness that comes from the thing that Calixta and Elk did
in the other story.
That's right. And here the girl she is stuck in the cycle of being beat down by her own sin.
Right.
Right. So she says, I can't do this, more or less. I tried to make a new life and it didn't change things, and I'm still stuck doing the same bad thing over and over and over and over again. And that's what Satan tells us, right? He says, if you do this, it won't be that bad. It'll be okay. You can always go back to Jesus and repent. And then when you mess up, he's
then
not
he accuses.
There to support you.
He's the deceiver, and then he's the accuser.
Right. And that's what makes it even worse and why you fall down this path.
But okay, so I was listening to another podcast the other day, and they were talking about Dante's Divine Comedy. Okay, and this is one I really want to do, but it's going to it takes me a while to read the Divine Comedy. Sorry, it's
I'm sure it takes everyone a little while.
It's a monster. We should do this one, but the podcast I listened to did the Divine Comedy in 3 episodes, and these guys were geniuses. So it's going to take us a lot longer to get there. But the Divine Comedy is Dante is chasing Beatrice. Okay, Beatrice is his love. All right, do you know the story?
I'm not too familiar. No.
Okay, so with the story, it's the Divine Comedy is in 3 parts. It's hell, it's Dante's Inferno, and then Purgatorio, and then Paradiso. So he goes from hell into purgatory into heaven, and he is escorted through hell by Virgil the poet. All right, who and leads him there, and every now and then he runs into Beatrice, who was his love when he was a young man. He met her at age 9, and he met her again at age 18. And if you're like into numerology, there's all sorts of stuff.
There's going to be a 27 there.
Well, but no, but she was dead by that time.
Oh,
right? She died really early, and he never got to. And he longed, but longing and pining and all these terrible love words that just cause you to ache. Dante had all these things, but when he goes through hell, he sees like the highest layers of hell are the sins of the flesh, are actually Calixtus and Alex. Those are easy baby sins. All right, the sexual sins, the gluttony sins, those are ones that are like
there's 7 deadly sins.
Right. But those are the ones that those sins of the flesh. Those are the ones that are least problematic. And it may seem odd to you that that's the statement, but the most problematic ones are ones that deal with when you mislead somebody or you take advantage of their trust, that sort of thing. Those are the guys that are way down at the bottom, frozen in the ice, because they have taken deceit, those kinds of things. People who turn on other people, who use good for, who use good for evil gain, that sort of thing. That's really bad stuff.
They use people as a means to get what they want.
That's right. Okay. And then eventually Dante gets through there, and Beatrice leads him to Purgatorio. And that line between hell and purgatory is a really fine line. Right. And the big difference that these guys mentioned that between hell and purgatory was the perspective and the direction where you look. Okay. And you were just mentioning that she was focused like, I'm not happy. I don't have what I want. This will bring me joy. No, it doesn't. I'm going to go back. I'm going to start drinking. Those are all inward facing things. And everybody in hell has that problem. And everybody, at least in purgatory, so purgatory is a path to paradise,
right?
But it's a cleansing path. So it's not easy, and it's a long climb. And apparently, I haven't gotten here yet in the story, but at the beginning of purgatory, you have to sit in a waiting room until they call you.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So what you're saying is the purgatory is the DMV.
It is like the DMV, but it's like the infinite DMV. Okay, it goes on and you have no idea how long it's going to be. It's not even like your number is like they just every now and then they call somebody in, and you have no idea how long you're going to be.
That guy got here way after I did. Why is his name being called?
Your number didn't get called yet, dude. You got it. But the biggest focus is they turn away from self and toward others. And Dante, when he's going through when he goes through purgatory, his focus starts to turn from himself wanting Beatrice just because she's hot, all right, to himself longing for the beatific vision, longing to be with God, right? And longing for Beatrice to be with God and them to be with, right? That's his focus turns from in to out, right? And that is the trick. That's the whole lesson, is to turn from in to out. And the poor little girl here in Lyin Eyes, she doesn't get it.
She's so inward.
Yeah, she doesn't get it.
But I did want to bring the listeners back into the story behind the Lyin Eyes, because it's very, very quick. It is apparently written extremely quickly by Don Henley and Glenn Frey. Glenn Frey, sorry.
Yep.
They're hanging out at the bar, and they saw all the women at the bar with guys that don't quite match up, right? So maybe a rich, chunky guy. And the thought of, hey, look at her. She can't even hide her Lyin Eyes, right? So, you scribble down the lyrics, and Frey says that the story had always been there, and I didn't want to say it wrote itself, but once we started working on it, there were no sticking points. Lyrics just kept coming out, and that's not always the way songs are written.
So they just made up the story.
They made up a story because they saw some girls at the bar with guys that probably didn't quite suit them.
And so I said, I've said this before on this show a couple times, I think, is that good fiction tells a truth, even though the story may be false.
There should be some shadow of reality, I guess, right?
Right. That's right. Yeah. So you can, fiction reveals truth, even though the story might be false. And here's a story that even the writers have said, yes, this is completely made up. We made it up. But, they didn't make it up out of whole cloth, because they have had experience with that. They saw that. They knew those people. These people that wrote this song were not 6-year-olds that have had no life experience.
Right.
Right. They were grown men living in the Hotel California. Right. And they would see these things, but they could read that. They could read that, and they created a story to reveal a truth. And fiction can do that, sometimes better than nonfiction.
Yeah, I was going to say truth is sometimes stranger than fiction, but that's not quite what we're going for here.
No, we're going here for the statement that fiction, just because it's not true, doesn't mean it doesn't reveal a truth, which seems like an oxymoron or a paradox or a Chesterton kind of thing. But that's why we make art, is to reveal truth that otherwise can't be told. And Lyin Eyes tells the story of being a cheating, self-centered, miserable, not committed kind of person better than The Storm does, because The Storm actually lies about how people feel.
And there's no consequence, right? I mean, at least Lyin Eyes, there is a consequence. There's something that happens afterwards. In The Storm, there is what all of the characters are apparently happy because they're living in oblivion.
Well, they're living, but they're not living in reality. Okay, they're like, I think you in order to find joy, you have got to be tied into reality, and it can't just be a reality. It has to be the reality. I'm so glad we have a
two different
right. We have a definite article. We have an indefinite article. Like, I don't know what languages. I don't know how you get by in a language without a definite article. Does Russian have those?
No, Russian doesn't have articles.
So can you talk about the truth in Russian? Or is it a truth?
That's probably above my language capacity.
Jeez. Teach you to speak Russian. You can't even answer that question for me. So you got to bring that up. You have to be grounded in truth. You have to be grounded in reality, right? And then you have to recognize, you have to live within that. You can't just create a world. Like, that's what this Alec.
You can't have infinite creativity, right? If you want to go back to you use this metaphor all the time, right? If you want pure creativity and you want to understand what creativity really is, you put boundaries around it. And that's what truth is here. That's what the truth is. Right? These are your boundaries. This is what is true. Right? Now, therefore, create and work within these boundaries to showcase your own talent.
Olivia has made this statement numerous times in the past, and the way she phrases it, and I've kind of stolen this, is she says creativity without boundaries is just noise. If you're not going to, if you're going to write music, and you're not going to use the frequencies of the notes on the scale. I mean, you can do this. I'm going to be really creative. I'm not going to be C or C sharp. I'm going to be like halfway between C and C sharp.
I can use 440 hertz. I'm going to use 445.
Yeah, I'll make everything, some of them a little sharp, some a little bit flat, and I'll just show my creativity, man. Well, that's lazy. That's lazy because you're not working within the boundaries. So there's this tension between how do I color well within the lines, but still every now and then know that this line here in this instance doesn't matter, right? Because there are times you have to exceed the boundaries. You got to go outside.
Sure.
Otherwise you're going to be stuck and you're going to be too rigid. So like we take liberties on this show, right? We take liberties. We call we call him Socrates, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
We do that. All right. And there are other things we do that allow us to step outside the line for comedic effect or whatever that is. But you need the boundaries, right? And the reality in living your life fully, you need to recognize the reality and you need to recognize what you have to do to live excellently, to do things with regard to virtue. And virtues are not boundaries that are there to stop
restrict you. Yeah.
No, they provide you with a framework to make yourself better. And all of the virtues. Think about all the virtues that you have and that you know, and the ones that you struggle to implement. Right. That's what we all do with virtues. If you really wanted to be the best person you could be, you would be fully virtuous because those things are excellent. And the poor girl in the lying eyes, she's not very virtuous, but at least this story is true. The other one makes it think like everything's grand. You can do whatever you want, and that's not grounded in reality. So Rafe votes thumbs down for The Storm and thumbs up for Lyin Eyes because of their connections to reality.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, I've always liked Lyin Eyes for the story. It sounds very pretty. The guitar is very nice in the song. It's, like you said, meter-wise, it's great. Lyrically, it's great. The story is grounded in truth in the sense that it is realistic. It can occur, and it probably does occur.
Yep.
And it spans the entire length of the story. It doesn't just stop and say, well, she found the new boy at school and she's good.
Yeah, everything's great.
Right? Like
the storm passed, Harry. The last line should Lyin Eyes. Yeah, and if your Lyin Eyes and the storm will pass, and everybody will be happy.
Yeah, and the storm does not do such a thing. However, it was the short story of the day on September 16th, 2018.
Yeah, that's because they've been doing short stories of the day for 150 years, and they ran out of stories. People complain a lot. They say, well, this story is bad because it has people doing bad things. So we should only have stories that have good people doing good things. And
that's great, but you can't have good people doing good things unless you actually can compare it to what is bad. Right? If everything is good, nothing is good. If everyone is super, nobody's super.
People say we need more biblical stories, and I'm a big fan of the Bible stories. But go read some of your Bible stories. They're not rated G. All right,
yeah, not everything is David and Goliath, and even that one's pretty rough.
Well, think about that. It's a battle. He goes in there. He hits Goliath with a rock in the head, and then goes and cuts his head off with a sword. That's what he does. So I mean, that's not a very nice thing to be showing. And David and Bathsheba, as great as David was, that was he sent another guy off to battle, have him killed so he could hook up with his wife. I mean, this is not a good guy doing good things, but it's a real thing. That's what real people do. And I guess I'm in favor of stories that are real in the sense that that's what real people do. And, real people
mess up.
Yeah, they do. And
even the good people mess up.
Yeah, I think
Augustine had some rough goes in the beginning of his life, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? Monica's his mother, right?
Yes.
And Monica prayed for the conversion of her son very fervently. So if you are a mother of a wayward boy, Monica is the one for you. Ask her help because she knows how to do that.
And if you're a wayward boy,
make me chaste, but not yet, right?
That's right.
Oh goodness. It is I don't know, pray for virtue and the strength to overcome it. I heard somebody say, don't pray for an easy life, but the strength to get through what your trials are. And
That's right.
That's where we are. All right. So summary, Harry, give us a summary.
A summary. The Storm, Miss Kate Chopin, right? Chopin.
Yeah. Chopin.
If that was your best work, you're published. You're further ahead than I am, but I'm not a fan. To the Eagles, well done. Thanks for giving us a realistic excerpt of reality.
There you go.
With real people, or not real people, right? Real instances. And we should search for the things that are good because they have virtue. And they do those virtuous things in the face of Satan and sin. Because otherwise they wouldn't be virtuous.
Yeah, you can't have courage without fear, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so you're going to run up to some things and exercise the virtue. So, all right, that's what we got. I'm going to encourage all you guys out there, until next time, to seek the good, be the good, and spread the good, and enjoy the adventure of life.